Yes, welcome into a college loop reaction video. I am Harrison Tarr, joined today by Dylan Larck, as I always am in these reaction video type beats. We are here, Dylan. I'm going to ask you how you're doing in a second, but I'm going to go and give the overarching theme here. Jeffrey Emba is back in the transfer portal. Guess who's back? Back again. How are you doing today, buddy, before we get into this? And we're not going to make this a super long episode, just a quick little reaction, talk about what this means going forward. But how are you today?
I'm doing just fine. I was enjoying my nice Taco Bell dinner up until we got the little notification from everywhere, really, that Jeffrey Emba entered the transfer portal. And if you were able to catch it, I posted about on December 27th, 2022, not to confuse anybody, that Jeffrey Emba entered the transfer portal then.
If you saw that 7-minute window.
Yeah, if you count the 7-minute window. And then I immediately got blasted with text messages and from all sorts of locations. Like, what's the source? What's your source? Him. He was my source.
Yeah, Jeffrey Emba was very much in the transfer portal in the fall, and then Hugh Freeze and company, Ron Roberts, brought him back in after the midst of the coaching change, and it looked like Jeffrey Emba was going to be part of this defensive line. So, like, let's talk about it now, Dylan.
Still going to be part of it too,
and break it down. He was not in that starting line, if you will. But he was the first guy subbed in, and that's usually, in my opinion, the way we interpreted it, was probably going to be first team-esque snaps, because you have to rotate those guys so much just because they're inherently getting hit and hitting people so much. This is interesting, and his farewell to Auburn was nothing short of curious, if you will. It was interesting, and I'm going to read it here, Dylan, really quickly, and we can just dissect this before we get into what this means for him. He said, quote, "I'm grateful to have been part of the Auburn Tigers community. My time in Auburn has taught me lessons that extend far beyond the football field. Here's where it gets weird. I want to give a heartfelt thank you to Coach Harrison for recruiting and giving me the opportunity to play at Auburn. Additionally, I want to thank the entire new Auburn staff for giving me the opportunity to play under their leadership. To my teammates, thank you for always being by my side. You guys have become family to me on and off the field. Without you, I don't think I will be able to make it this far. A huge thanks to Coach Dom and the entire coaching staff for helping me reach a new level on the field. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the Auburn community for embracing and supporting me throughout my time here. I never felt anything but real love from you since day one. You are all a big family and made me a part of it. I will always remember and appreciate you. The time has come for me to enter the transfer portal and take the next step as a football player. It's time for me to start the next chapter of my life." Okay, let's talk about that for a second. And I think that maybe Jeffrey Emba had his mind made up and was just kind of like going through spring ball. Like, that's what it sounds like. Just go through spring ball, see how it plays out. It's kind of like when your parents say you can quit this sport after the season if you don't like it, but you have to finish it. I feel like that's a perfect analogy too. Is this a little bit of a result, Dylan, of him just being an ultra Harsin guy? There's not many of them.
Yeah, I think he's one of the two out there that really, because I mean, a lot of people have transferred out from Auburn since Harsin left, and you gotta be honest with you, very few of them thanked him.
Yeah,
he just was one of those coaches that the players just didn't like, and you got to
just didn't know.
Oh, that too. He never left his office from what we've heard, and he just doesn't talk to anybody. But I don't understand where he's coming from, because I mean, I've heard that he wasn't going to see the field in his eyes, but I don't know how they play it in France. The defensive line is one of the most subbed in and out positions in the sport, because they're constantly getting hit. They're blitzing every play. I mean, the defensive tackle position in particular, you don't really do anything else but just run full speed at another guy your size and maybe a little stronger than you every single play. I mean, even Derek Brown didn't play every snap of the year, and he was drafted in the top 10 of his draft. I don't get where he's coming from, because I mean, he's the third. I say third string defensive line. He's the third defensive line in the rotation, as in it goes as the starter, the guy next to the starter, and then he comes in for the starter. It blows my mind.
It's interesting. You wonder, is it just one side? We really don't know all the details. Is it just from Jeffrey Emba's side? In which case, like I said, we don't dunk on kids for going and making what's best decision for them in their professional, I guess, amateur and professional career. That being said, there are times where it's confusing. I mean, we mentioned this when Wendell Green entered the NBA draft. It's kind of the same concept there, where it's like, okay, if that's what's best for you, by all means, go do it. If you're going to get your bag, go get your bag. Whatever is best for you right now, that's okay. And we will inherently understand that concept. My thing is, I don't understand what the logic is here in terms of like what's the why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's certainly not playing time. And I don't think it's scheme. I don't think it's coaching personnel. I mean, hell, it might be. But from my understanding, this Ron Roberts group, this group that Hugh Freeze and Ron Roberts have assembled, has been pretty well received. And I'm curious here. Maybe the reason that Jeffrey Emba committed to Auburn in the first place is he liked the way the Harsin administration went about things. I mean, he's in the severe minority, but it's to his credit. I mean, a lot of guys have played football for Brian Harsin. Like, let's not lose sight of that. Not a lot have played at the SEC level, but that's neither here nor there. And there's a whole world of opportunities here. There's going to be a lot of good football teams. They're going to be very excited to see his name in the transfer portal.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
And
his stats don't really tell that, but
go ahead. If you give me the rundown on how the stats don't tell the story. I think the tape tells the story right now, but I think he can change that.
Yeah, and when you say the tape tells the story, I mean, his best tape was post the coach he thanked getting fired.
Yeah.
What he is one of those. He's up there with Jalen Simpson and Nehemiah Pritchett as one of the best players post the Harsin firing. I mean, he stepped up in his Mississippi State game was evident right there. That was the first game without Brian Harsin and Cadillac. And who was the defensive coordinator for that? Blanking so hard on that. That feels like 10 years ago at this point. But I mean, Mississippi State, it was a come out party. Really, he got his first career sack or his first sack at Auburn, a forced fumble, and he got a tackle too. But he actually showed up. He was getting pressured almost every play, and you sit there and wonder, like, why wasn't he playing to begin with? And he thanks Brian Harsin, but Harsin did everything he could to keep him off the field. I mean, before that, he very rarely was on the field, and he very rarely made a presence. And then after Harsin got fired, he started doing that. And then after the season, he entered the transfer portal. Hugh Freeze and On to Victory probably talked to him in loads to get him back, and he did
copious amounts.
And they did. They got him back. And then after spring, I guess he's just not happy with where the team would really have him. And I don't get it. We talked about it after A-Day. He was the best part of that defensive line.
Jeff Schmedding. Why did I forget about Jeff Schmedding? I wanted it to be Eric Keesaw, and I get them backwards all the time. Sorry.
I mean,
that was bothering me.
Enter former Boise State coordinator here.
Yes.
That's just how that works. But I look at it from that standpoint as I don't really see what it is. If it's playing time, I don't get it. If it's money, I don't get it. If he was entering the draft as a late prospect, I'd be like, you know what? Why not go? He'll get drafted. His size alone, 6'6", 313 pounds. I mean, I'd draft that in like the 5th round. I mean,
sure.
But I just don't get exactly where he's coming from with this. I mean, I've read that second paragraph more often than probably anyone else has thus far, and I just sit there and I'm like, why?
It's confusing, and I also don't want people to forget that we talk about how there's going to be a lot of football teams very excited to see Jeffrey Emba in the portal. He was the number 1 defensive line JUCO prospect in the country when he transferred into Auburn, and he was a 4-star, 90.5 overall, composite per 247, and it's confusing, and it's one of those things where I don't think this impacts Auburn as much as I think it impacts Jeffrey Emba. And who knows, maybe he just needs to go to a different scheme in order to really showcase his skill set and develop as a player, and so be it. I'm not as worried about that as I am what's going to happen with the transfer portal now. We've been talking time and time again. Your 1A and 1B priorities, and there's really a 1C. In the transfer portals is going to be quarterbacks, linebackers, and wide receivers. Now you throw in, I don't think it's like a 1D option. I think it's a 2. But you
Yeah.
throw in that defensive line because now you need to go get a couple bodies up in that front. And you know, I after watching the tape, there were some missed assignments. When you get to that second team, I thought that first team in large did pretty well. But that second team and that third team just needs help and you need bodies. But you certainly need to go get more pieces because I think that I feel if I'm an Auburn fan, I feel a whole lot less good about this unit without Jeffrey Emba than I did with Jeffrey Emba. That being said, there's going to be opportunities to go get some dudes out of this portal. I don't know what that looks like now because, completely honest with you, until about 4 days ago when we first heard that Jeffrey Emba may be entering the transfer portal. And I honestly, the reason I texted you or FaceTimed you earlier today, Dylan, so surprised is I kind of thought it was going to be tomorrow that he was going to say something about it.
Yeah.
I was like not ready for that today at all. But there's going to be opportunities. I just don't know what that looks like. And I think now your man Philip Montgomery's got to kind of run the full court press because now you really have that box of that front seven and when we reload the box. Thank you for giving me that weird pause moment.
Ron Roberts.
Let's say Philip Montgomery has offensive. Ron Roberts, thank you. I'm sorry. We've been talking so many different sides of the football here. Ron Roberts, I'm sorry. And that defense, when where you're looking to stack that box, you're going to have to go kind of really construct that and mold that because I don't know. The depth is concerning, and linebackers should still be your first priority if you're Ron Roberts. But it should be interesting. Dylan, are you comfortable saying that Auburn will pick up? Let me phrase it this way: Auburn's going to try to pick up blank defensive linemen in the transfer portal.
I'm gonna say 2.
That's kind of where I'm feeling.
I think because you're losing Jeffrey Emba. That's your third defensive tackle in the depth chart, and I mean after Jeffrey Emba, I think it goes like Jason Jones, Marcus Harris, Jeffrey Emba, straight down.
Sure.
So now you gotta get guys who can fill up that role. I mean Justin Rogers is up there too. So I think it goes a little bit further than Jeffrey Emba, but not much further than Justin Rogers and maybe Steven Johnson. I think he was the JUCO guy.
Yes.
Watching that third team, watching the second team miss those assignments. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how bad the third team looked on A-Day. And I mean, yeah, it's A-Day, it's a spring game, but they looked bad.
Sure.
And I look at it from the standpoint, I mean, that dam is going to break on Saturday.
Floodgates.
Because I don't want to say it, but I think Jeffrey Emba might be the tip of the iceberg of a haul that might be leaving Auburn. I think.
The floodgates are open. We're about to see a whole shift, and don't panic, Auburn fans. I think it's for the best.
Yeah.
But it's going to be that's going to be the first domino to fall, and there will be lots of other dominoes. And I can, for those of you who are thinking your usual suspects, I'll go ahead and tell you I think you're right. There's a couple of names that come to mind on both sides of the ball. That if you're thinking that they may transfer, you're probably right. And we will touch base more on that on Sunday as we actually know once this portal is open and we can look into the porthole, if you will. That's been my favorite thing is seeing that someone tweeting that one day. Hugh, go get me something out of the porthole. I've been obsessed with that ever since. It's very, very funny. But as soon as this portal really gets, I guess, going and the floodgates have opened, we'll have a lot more as we get closer on Sunday. That being said, Dylan, did you have anything you wanted to add on the Jeffrey Emba news before we move forward? I didn't want to take a ton of time on this one, but it was worth mentioning because now this defensive line is a point of emphasis in the porthole.
Yeah, it really, if you were to do a top 5, you said it. I mean, quarterback, linebacker, wide receiver. I put defensive line on wide receiver right now. I think the wide receivers are pretty okay for the most part.
Right now, as we stand, the wide receivers are below the defensive line. We'll talk again on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's going to get weird.
It could get weird, but I mean, I look at it. Nick Martin.
Pretty good about it being weird.
Nick Martin or Camden Brown. I feel very comfortable with those guys, and Coy Moore if he stays.
Okay, Coy Moore staying. I think.
Yeah, that's front alone. And if Tarvarius Dawson were to stay, I think the wide receiver depth would be better than the defensive line depth without Jeffrey Emba.
I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna tease it for the Sunday show, and I'll just leave it here before we do our little outro. I guess not introductions, but farewells rather. I don't know that Jeffrey Imba is going to be the only player that entered his name into the portal in the fall, that re-entered his name into the portal in the spring. I will leave it there. You do with that information as you will. 99.9% of you guys know exactly what I mean by that. And the other 0.1% of you guys like, subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll figure it out later this weekend. As on that note, Dylan, that's going to do it for our reaction video here on the College Loop to Jeffrey Imba's decision to re-enter the transfer portal. We're up to 120 subscribers on YouTube, and we were at like 100 like yesterday. It's like, that's awesome. YouTube's growing at a ridiculous rate. You guys are taking in this content faster than we can throw it at you guys, and we love it. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Follow along on all of our YouTube adventures. And if you guys keep wanting more YouTube exclusive content, I mean, by golly, Dylan, we're just going to give them more content.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's simply what we're here for. And a lot of more cool stuff coming up here on the College Loop. So make sure you stay locked in right here. We don't want to see you guys go anywhere. We love all of our awesome, wonderful listeners. You guys are fantastic. I'm Harrison Tarr at Harrison Tarr on the Bird app. If you want to check out my written work, you can check that out at the Auburn Daily, theauburndaily.com. More of my podcasting work available every Wednesday and Friday. Double check with Lindsay. We'll have a Friday show this week. Wednesday with Dylan Larck. Friday with the legendary Lindsay Crosby. The rest of my podcasting work is also right here at the College Loop every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Dylan's going to tell you all about it. He'll tell you where you can't find us, where you can find us. And we will move. If you've not watched my TikTok dance yet, thank you. If you have, I'm sorry. Dylan, tell everybody where they can love you, support you, and get us out here.
All right. And if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. So just go to our page, subscribe, and then click shorts, and you'll see it. It's like the second video right now, but go watch it. It's hilarious. Go give it a like while you're at it too. But yeah, I'm Dylan Larck at your boy the Tank on Twitter. It is right below me as we speak. It is at YABOI the Tank. Also catch me on the Auburn Daily Show every Monday with Lance Taw and Wednesday, of course, with Harrison Tarr. And go to auburndaily.com to go read some of my work. If you really like transfer portal quarterbacks, all I've been writing about and all I've been thinking about.
Your boy the writer.
Your boy the writer. Your boy the quarterback knower, because I have a quarterback in the air. That
your boy the ball knower.
Yes. But of course, follow College Loop literally everywhere. If you want to watch us, of course, YouTube. If you want to listen to us, if you don't like our faces, you got Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts. Social medias, you got us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. But sadly, we have a MySpace. I'll look into it, I swear. I'll try to get one day. With that being said, this has been the College Loop reaction to Jeffrey Imba's transfer.